Super Bowl 59, February 8th, 2026. The biggest stage in all of sports. 70,000 fans screaming, millions watching around the world. And in the middle of it all, one man stood tall, Kenneth Walker III, a running back who wasn't supposed to be here, a second-round pick who was told he wasn't good enough, a player who spent his entire career proving doubters wrong. And on this night, on the grandest stage of them all, he didn't just play. He dominated. 28 carries, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, Super Bowl MVP. This is the story of how Kenneth Walker III went from overlooked prospect to the most valuable player in the Super Bowl. This is the story of a kid who refused to quit, who bet on himself, and who rewrote his entire legacy in one magical season. This is the Kenneth Walker story. Before the Super Bowl MVP trophy, before the Seattle Seahawks, before the national spotlight, Kenneth Walker III was just a kid from Tennessee with a dream. Born on October 21st, 2000 in Arlington, Tennessee, Kenneth grew up in a household where football wasn't just a game, it was a way of life. His father, Kenneth Walker Jr., had played college football. He understood the grind, the sacrifice, the dedication it took to succeed at the highest level, and he made sure his son understood it too. Kenneth wasn't handed anything. He had to earn every opportunity. At Arlington High School, he was good, really good. He rushed for over 3,000 yards in his high school career. He scored 46 touchdowns. He was a nightmare for opposing defenses. Quick, explosive, powerful. And he had everything you'd want in a running back. But here's the thing about being a great high school player in Tennessee. Unless you're playing for one of the powerhouse programs in Nashville or Memphis, the major college programs don't always notice. And Kenneth? He wasn't on their radar, at least not at first. The big schools, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, they weren't calling. Kenneth wasn't a 5-star recruit. He wasn't even a high 4-star. He was a 3-star prospect, which in recruiting terms means he's good, but we're not sure he's great. So Kenneth had a decision to make. He could go to a smaller school where he'd play right away, or he could bet on himself and walk on at a bigger program. Kenneth chose to bet on himself. He committed to Wake Forest University, not a traditional football powerhouse, but a program in the ACC where he could prove himself against high-level competition. Kenneth's freshman year at Wake Forest in 2018 was a learning experience. He was the backup. He carried the ball just 38 times for 174 yards. Not impressive, but Kenneth wasn't discouraged. He kept working, kept grinding, kept believing. And then 2019 happened. Kenneth became the starter, and he exploded. He rushed for 109 carries, 658 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He was finally showing what he could do, but it still wasn't enough to get national attention. Wake Forest wasn't on national television every week. Nobody was talking about Kenneth Walker. Nobody except the people who really mattered. The coaches at Michigan State. 2021. Kenneth Walker made a decision that would change his life forever. He entered the transfer portal and committed to Michigan State. It was a bold move. Michigan State was coming off a 2-5 season. They weren't a powerhouse. But head coach Mel Tucker had a vision. He wanted to build something special, and he believed Kenneth Walker could be the centerpiece. Kenneth believed it too. He transferred to East Lansing with something to prove. He was tired of being overlooked, tired of being underrated, tired of hearing that he wasn't good enough. 2021 was his chance to silence all the doubters, and that's exactly what he did. Kenneth Walker III didn't just have a good season at Michigan State. He had a legendary season. He rushed for 1,636 yards, 18 touchdowns. He led the entire nation in rushing yards. He single-handedly carried Michigan State to a 10-2 record and a spot in the top 10 rankings. He had games where he looked unstoppable. Against Michigan, the Spartans' biggest rival, Kenneth rushed for 5 carries for 23 yards and a touchdown in limited action. Against Penn State, he dominated. Against Ohio State, he showed out. Kenneth Walker wasn't just good, he was elite. The awards started pouring in. First-team All-American, Big Ten Running Back of the Year, and the big one, the Doak Walker Award given to the best running back in all of college football. Kenneth Walker had gone from 3-star recruit to the best running back in the country in just one season. It was one of the most remarkable transformations in college football history, and now, the NFL was paying attention. Kenneth declared for the 2022 NFL Draft. He was projected to go in the first round, maybe even the top 15 picks. This was it. His dream was about to come true. But then draft day happened, and once again Kenneth Walker had to deal with disappointment. Pick after pick went by. Running backs were coming off the board. Breece Hall went to the Jets in the second round. James Cook went to the Bills. Kenneth kept waiting, and waiting, and waiting. Finally, with the 41st overall pick in the second round, the Seattle Seahawks called his name. Kenneth Walker III was an NFL player, but he wasn't a first-round pick. Once again, teams had passed on him. Once again, he'd been overlooked. And once again, Kenneth had a chip on his shoulder. Kenneth Walker arrived in Seattle with something to prove. The Seahawks were in transition. They just traded Russell Wilson to Denver. They were starting over with Geno Smith at quarterback. Nobody expected them to be good. Nobody expected them to compete. But Kenneth had other plans. He started the 2022 season as the backup to Rashad Penny. But when Penny went down with an injury in Week 5, Kenneth got his shot, and he seized it. In his first career start against the Arizona Cardinals, Kenneth rushed for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. He looked explosive, decisive, powerful. Everything the Seahawks had hoped for when they drafted him. Kenneth finished his rookie season with 228 carries, 1,050 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Also, he was named to the PFWA All-Rookie team. He proved he belonged in the NFL. But more importantly, he proved that all those teams that passed on him in the draft had made a mistake. 2023 was even better. Kenneth rushed for over 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. He became one of the most consistent running backs in the league. He wasn't the flashiest, he wasn't the fastest, but he was effective. He made defenders miss. He broke tackles. He found the end zone. Kenneth Walker was becoming a star. But 2025, that's when everything came together. The Seahawks made some key additions in the offseason. They bolstered their offensive line. They brought in new weapons on offense, and they had a quarterback in Geno Smith who, against all odds, was still playing at a high level. Kenneth entered the season with one goal: win a championship. He'd proven he could put up stats. He'd proven he could carry a team, but he'd never won anything significant at the professional level. That was about to change. Kenneth had a monster regular season, over 1,300 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns. He was physical, explosive, and most importantly, clutch. In big games when the Seahawks needed him most, Kenneth delivered. He carried Seattle to an 11-6 record and a playoff berth, and then the playoffs started. That's when Kenneth elevated his game to another level. In the wildcard round against the San Francisco 49ers, Kenneth rushed for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Seahawks won 41-6. It was a statement. Seattle wasn't just happy to be in the playoffs. They were here to win. In the divisional round, Kenneth rushed for 108 yards and a touchdown as the Seahawks beat the Los Angeles Rams 31-27. In the NFC Championship game against a tough Green Bay Packers defense, Kenneth grinded out 96 yards and the game-winning touchdown. The Seattle Seahawks were going to the Super Bowl, and Kenneth Walker was the biggest reason why. Super Bowl 59, Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. Kenneth Walker versus the world. The Patriots had a stout defense. They'd held opponents to under 20 points per game all season. They had a game plan specifically designed to stop Kenneth. Stack the box. Force Geno Smith to beat them with his arm. Make the Seahawks one-dimensional. But Kenneth Walker doesn't care about game plans. He cares about winning. And on this night, nothing was going to stop him. The first quarter was a feeling-out process. Both teams trading punts. Field position battle. Kenneth had a few carries, picked up some tough yards, but nothing explosive. Yet, the second quarter, that's when Kenneth started to take over. On a crucial 3rd and 2, Kenneth took a handoff up the middle, broke 2 tackles, and exploded for a 28-yard gain. The Seahawks were in business. A few plays later, Kenneth punched it in from 3 yards out. Touchdown. Seattle 7, New England 0. The route was on. The Patriots tried to adjust. They brought extra defenders into the box. They tried to contain Kenneth, but he was too good, too patient, too explosive. Every time they thought they had him stopped, he'd make them miss. He'd find a crease. He'd fall forward for extra yards. In the third quarter, Kenneth took a screen pass, made 3 defenders miss, and rumbled for 42 yards. The crowd went insane. Momentum was fully on Seattle's side. Late in the fourth quarter, with the game still in reach for New England, Kenneth delivered the dagger. 3rd and 1 from the Patriots' 12-yard line. Everyone in the stadium knew Kenneth was getting the ball. The Patriots knew it. The fans knew it. Kenneth knew it, and he still scored. He took the handoff, hit the hole, stiff-armed a linebacker, and dove into the end zone. Touchdown, game over. Seattle 29, New England 13. When the final whistle blew, Kenneth Walker had put together one of the most dominant Super Bowl performances by a running back in recent memory. 28 carries, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. He controlled the game. He wore down the Patriots' defense. He made big plays when his team needed them most. And when the MVP award was announced, there was no debate. Kenneth Walker III, Super Bowl MVP, the kid from Tennessee who was told he wasn't good enough, the 3-star recruit, the 2nd-round pick. He was now a champion, and he was standing on top of the football world. Kenneth Walker's story is bigger than football. It's a story about perseverance, about believing in yourself when nobody else does, about taking every opportunity and making the most of it. Kenneth could have given up when the big schools didn't recruit him. He could have settled for a smaller program, but he didn't. He went to Wake Forest, worked his tail off, and earned a transfer to Michigan State. He could have been discouraged when he fell to the 2nd round of the NFL draft, but instead he used it as fuel. He proved every single team that passed on him wrong. And now Kenneth Walker is a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, a player who will forever be remembered for delivering on the biggest stage in sports. His jersey is flying off the shelves. His name is being mentioned alongside the all-time great Seattle running backs like Marshawn Lynch and Shaun Alexander. Kids are wearing number 9 jerseys because they want to be like Kenneth Walker. He's not just a football player anymore. He's an inspiration, a reminder that it doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you finish. And Kenneth Walker finished on top. From overlooked to unstoppable, from 3-star recruit to Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker III proved that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. He proved that belief in yourself is more powerful than anyone else's doubts. He proved that the journey doesn't have to be easy to be worth it. Super Bowl 59 will be remembered for a lot of reasons, but most of all, it will be remembered as the night Kenneth Walker III became a legend. The night he silenced every critic. The night he fulfilled every dream. This is Kenneth Walker. This is his story, and it's only just beginning.